We are sitting here with South Central Puppy 2019, Pup Yomi, in a little bit of a introduction and Q&A with him, and we will get going here. What are your hobbies and interests outside of puppy play?
Mostly it's just video games and anime, because I'm a uber mega nerd and stuff like that. But I also do rugby with the Dallas Law Souls, and I kind of joined them 3 years ago and still fit my place into the team. It's a lot of fun. I really like the sport. And if you have any opinions on video games, I'm glad to compare notes, especially on fighting games, which some I have very strong opinions about.
So, since you're talking about video games, what are your favorite video games and why?
The first and foremost one would be Final Fantasy Tactics, just because I really like job systems and it makes me feel smart because you can't take back any of the moves you make. I really like class systems, and that's really why Final Fantasy X-2 kind of hopped into mind, even though it has a pretty garbage story, has great gameplay. Another that I wanted to touch on is the Persona series, because Persona does something interesting that not a lot of other Japanese games do, and they touch on very real subject matter, and spoilers for a 10-year-old game, but in Persona 4, you deal with the persona, the side you show yourself, and shadow, the part of yourself that you try to hide from everyone. Everyone has to deal with their shadow, and it becomes their persona, the facade to deal with the hardships of life. But two particularly interesting characters in there are, not going to name them, but there is one who is dealing with his homosexuality in a society where it's thought of as wimpy, immature, and just not overall manly to be homosexual. And you have another character who's dealing with, they are a woman in a man's world, and they're doing a man's job, and they have to appear, or they have to present themselves masculine to get any kind of respect in their field. And I'll just leave it at that. It's really fun game, really fun gameplay, a lot of mythological creatures in there, and there's a dick monster in a chariot, so what's not to love?
As any good Asian game would. What got you into puppy play?
It started a couple of years ago when I was starting to get into the leather scene, and I got involved with Discipline Corps, a male play group. And I met some people. I started frequenting the Eagle, and I saw the pup races and thought, oh boy, that looks like a lot of fun. So I started asking a lot of questions of other people. What is pup play? How do I get in? And what's expected of me, etc., until I found myself upon a friend, Pup Spike, who is sadly no longer with us, but he gave me my first puppy play session, and that's something that I really wouldn't trade for the world.
So, since you've gotten much more into the pup community and have run for and won at least one puppy title, what is your goal as a representative for the puppy community?
This is something I struggled with a lot when I was thinking of running in the first place. There's a little backstory to this. I was at IMSL, International Ms. Leather, or IMSL Baba, and International Miss Leather and International Miss Boot Black, and it's such a fun and amazing event, and they managed to strike the balance of making an event women-centric, but also being inviting to people of all walks of life. And I look around the pup community, and one thing I notice a lot is that there's not very much POC representation in the pup community. And when I went to Emsel, there was just our previous Emsel was a black woman, a feminist, and she was very strong in her ideas of, if your feminism doesn't have anything with people of color, then it's something you should investigate and think about. And so, most of all, what I'm trying to say is, as a POC pup, I'm trying to be the representative for our community because we don't have POC pups, and that to show the world that just because we are people of color doesn't make us any lesser than anyone else, and that we're willing to work as hard to earn our place in the community as anyone else. That's that.